About the author. This book was created by Dylan Herbert, who created and wrote many other titles. These titles include Jingle Man Volume 1, The Wayward Lady, Dearly Beloved Volume 1, Sergio, Even Lilies Weep, The Vent People, Mr. Goosehead, The Chad Billings Game Parts 1 and 2, Brothel of Redcraft, Willie O. Stitches, The Exorcism of Aaron Galanis, and many more. All works by Dylan thus far relate to each book, diving deeper to create a world of horror as you learn more of the world of the Websters, Detective Robbie Wayne Clark, The Wayward, Earth, and those affected by the various characters. You will be captivated as you go down this rabbit hole. Books are divided into two sections. The world of Robbie Wayne Clark, which is a parallel Earth filled with magic and fiction, and our actual world filled with true accounts of actual stories that people have actually lived. A young boy is held captive by his foster father, who is ruthless, unhinged, and violent. Food was locked away. He was left to rot and die in the basement. But as he grew older, he encountered entities known as the Olden Ones of the Tall Seeds. Even after his almost death experience at the Schneider's house for orphans, the boy named Dante Alvarez continued to encounter these ancient beings. Will they aid him, or are they even more sinister than Mr. Schneider? This book is a horror book and has topics that are not suitable for younger audiences. If you do not like horror-based topics, please do not read. If you are suffering from trauma, depression, or any other mental illnesses, please do not read this title. This title has strong language that may be deemed as offensive to some. This book is not part of the other books, and you do not need any prior knowledge of Dylan's other works to read and follow along with this book. This title is inside the same universe as Willie O. Stitches, Goobsville, and The Exorcism of Aaron Galanis. All works by Dylan Herbert are based on experiences he has had in his lifetime. Most characters describe people he has met. Although the stories are exaggerated, they are still true experiences he has had during his lifetime or experiences others have told him. In 2022, Dylan began this journey. This book is a short story in the same universe as The Exorcism of Aaron Galanis. This book has topics not suitable for younger audiences. It has language, violence, topics on assault, and other topics that may trigger or offend some viewers. If you do not like graphic depictions, are sensitive to foul language, or easily offended, do not read this title. The Olden Ones of the Tall Seeds is a book full of horror and dark-themed subjects. This book introduces new characters to the series. This book can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Wattpad, Goodreads, Apple's iBooks, the Kindle Bookstore, and Amazon. Thanks for reading. Chapter 1. The Seed Inside His Heart. Chains rattle as a boy could be seen chained inside a dog kennel, as if he were a beast or even a badly behaved pet. Chains about his neck, ankles, and wrist chafed the skin as bruises and wounds were visible on the poor child. If God was real, he had abandoned that bastard child as the devil was dancing his wicked walk. The folks of Louisiana always are known for their voodoo, who the white man say is only wicked and sinful. But deep in the southern roads of Richmond, Virginia, true voodoo was practiced unhinged and original root work too, one that invited the devils of old to come out to play for a night. But that's off the topic, so let's get back to the story. The whistling of fall's heavy wind as it turned into winter could be heard. That weather that looked beautiful, but when one stepped outside, they would feel that cold to the bones. Dripping pipes, black mold, and even bugs could be seen as a boy is seen crying. Blood dripped from his head, tears fell from his eyes, and flies flew inside his wounds on his body. His wounds oozing yellow and green as his wounds slowly became infected, and with each inhale, pain surged throughout his body. This was no place for any boy, but Dante had made a grave error according to Mr. Schneider. You see, on the surface, the household who took in orphans were the kindest souls when the Child Protective Services came through or when the neighbors were about. But when that facade ended, the children were beaten bloody to an inch of their lives, forced to do chores, and those with the highest points got the highest prizes, such as food, baths, and treated as all good children should. Chores earned points. Doing good earned the children points that they cashed in for simple things like a hot meal, warm shower, and the ability to sleep in a cozy bed. Dante, however, constantly got the lowest scores, as he would beg his siblings to let him do some chores, but they were all older than him and would refuse. For the last place person would go to the basement, and the kids had heard of the horror stories that went down there. Please, let me do something, anything. I don't want to go back there. I can't go back to rot in hell. Dante begged, but was ignored, and thus soon he would be locked up like a wild animal. The footsteps of Mr. Schneider could be heard as the children all began to line up, for he was a serious man. A rugged, black, tall man with an afro. The smell of a freshly lit cigarette could be smelled, and that humming could be heard.
Jitterbugs! Hope you did good, for God doesn't live here now and never will. I am your daddy. I give you a place to lay your filthy black-skinned heads. I give life to the Spanish ducks. I let you white fuckers see how it is to be in the presence of God Almighty. I am your God.
Ronnie Schneider screamed, and all backs automatically straightened up. Benjamin, Courtney, Ryan, Paul, Susan, Jupiter, Juniper, Virginia, Derek, Ethan, and Dante all lined up. It started with points. Those who got at least 5 points would get a hot meal, warm bath, and the love of Rena Schneider, for she would massage our weary bodies, embrace us like a loving mother, and draw us a warm bath. A real loving woman for those who got the required points. An angel in our midst, but a demon in reality, for she whispered and turned her husband into the monster he was today. Those who got less than 5 points, but more than 3, got less food, but still saw the love of that vile woman. The ones that got less than 3 points, but more than 0, got scolded harshly and a slice of bread and cheese. They got beat. They got whipped, but later on still embraced mother as she hoped for a better day tomorrow. However, today, like most days, I got 0 points, and laziness in the eyes of Ronnie was not tolerated.
I give you a place to fucking sleep. I put food in your belly, boy. I give life to your meaningless life. Your mama didn't want you, so we took you in. But now you laugh and spit in my face. With your action, you little shit. Oh, man, oh, buddy. Daddy will teach you a lesson, little Dante. Little shit. The devil has come inside your heart to disobey Daddy, so I will show you God's beautiful light.
As he said this, his biological daughter Sarah came and smacked me as she grabbed my arm harshly, throwing me to the ground.
Ha 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 ha! Yes, shake the devil out of that boy. Get it out. Take it out. The devil must leave Daddy's house. The devil isn't welcome in God's house.
Ronnie screamed. Ronnie was the actual devil, for the cruel acts he performed on the orphans would make anyone cry. The sweet mother's demeanor instantly changed as she started spitting and cursing at him.
You ungrateful shit. How fucking dare you? We give you anything and you just standing there like a dumb fucker. You think you're better than me? I bathe your dirty black ass. I feed your ugly black belly. I take you to the doctor, Dante. I fucking love you, but you spitting on mama's kindness, and that will cost you, you fucking lazy shit.
Rena shouted and started kicking and scratching. Ronnie flicked his cigarette out on the boy before punching him in the head until everything grew dark. But before he fell asleep, he heard the father say, God loves you, little Dante. His head was ringing as a pain shot throughout his body. Blood-curdling pain stained his eyeballs as the whites of the eyes turned bloodshot red. He tried to move, but his neck was restrained along with his arms, feet, and ankles.
Wakey, wakey, little jitterbug.
A familiar voice said as a dimly lit candle could be seen.
Tell me, boy, how the hell is it that even after our generosity you stay at the bottom, you ungrateful swine? Don't worry, though, I will straighten you up. Boys need a God-fearing strong man in their lives, lest they become like you. So this is what is going to happen, my black-colored friend. I will teach you and send you to God. Isn't that great, Dante? I am God. I am he who walks to the light, to guide even the bad jitterbugs into the light of his majestic presence.
Ronnie said to Dante. Oh, God, please help. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry, Daddy. Please, it won't happen again. The boy begged as tears came falling from his eyes, but he was met with a sharp, piercing pain. As his flesh tore and blood came oozing out of his newly created gash. With each breath, his chest almost collapsed. Ronnie had stabbed the child with a shaved metal bar, and cries from a 4-year-old boy could be heard.
I told you, you black fucker, that I am God! Cry for me! Bleed for Daddy! Scream, you bastard! In this house that I have let you live in, I set the rules, boy. I am the king of the castle. I will teach you and bring you so close to death, so close to the devil, and bring you back into the fucking light.
The man yelled. Dante mumbled with his remaining strength how he was so hungry and thirsty. However, cackling and giggling could only be heard as Mama Rena and Sister Sarah came from the shadows.
Oh, you are hungry, are you? Okay, son, okay, I will help you out. Just tell me, what is the rules of this house?
Mr. Schneider asked. I will obey all the rules of this house. I will respect Mama, for she is the queen and is to be respected at all times. I will follow the words of his majestic laws. Mr. Schneider is the king. He is God. I will obey Sister Sarah, for she knows best. I will work as one unit in this house and do my best. All laws, rules, and creeds are final, and if I am good, then I will be loved and cherished forever, Dante said in a quiet tone. Searing pain shot through the boy's body as another stab was made. His arm was grabbed by Mr. and Mrs. Schneider, and soon Sarah came to open the cage he was in.
It is not what you have been doing. You constantly get 0 points day after day. You don't deserve to eat because you obviously don't give a shit about the rules. Oh, you have been a bad fucking boy, Dante. Don't worry. We will set you straight.
They kicked, punched, and hit him with all their might. He was bleeding, and they dug their nails into his wounds, tearing off the boy's flesh. They put his blood in a cup and forced him to eat his own flesh and blood.
Eat it, you fucking swine, and don't spill a drop. Come on, Dante, don't piss God off,
Mr. Schneider said. The inhumane acts performed on the young boy would shift his perspective. For things that no child should have to go through, let alone human, Dante would somehow endure. Things from bodily harm, including mutilation, from physical abuse. But to add fuel to the fire, the things that Big Sister Sarah did was something that would scar the boy up even to his 20s.
God touched the soul of the wicked man, Dante, and even the thief on the cross Jesus saved. So turn into the light of the Church of the Thorned Trees. God is amazing. Papa is God and Mama is his righteous crusader, and in the name of all things holy, my child, embrace the love of the cherries. Give into the heart's deepest desires, and God will turn it into pure passion. You see, Jitterbug? God's love, it's the great, unstoppable force that moves like a silent wind, reaching even the most impure. Your heart is so impure, for you have disobeyed the greatest of God's creeds. The creed St. Ronnie Schneider has written when he saw God face to face. He was sitting in the rain, outside a cafe, when a woman driving a Toyota Camry, possessed by the devil herself, hit him. God told him to be him, as God gave up on his powers, for every race has its end, my beautiful brother. You see, Papa saw the angels and their true forms, not the fairy tale ones these false prophets, popes, bishops, and pastors speak of, but the true fear of the sight of an angel. But still, Papa overcame fear, for God fears nothing. These godly creatures were a mass of wings and had multiple eyes that, if looked upon by any mortal, their bodies set on fire. It is said that these angels give life to our son. However, they pledged allegiance to Papa, the God of the New World. You see, even back in 1902, when Papa was only 37, he became reborn as God. Aging as ceased to be, and through his power, he gave his power to Mama. In order to see God's true form, we must be baptized and die. It is so beautiful, isn't it, Dante? In St. Schneider's creed, all life must purify their souls of sin through pain, rebirth, and the church of the thorned trees. Those who can't survive this trial will be forgotten by God. God's love, it does not discriminate. It does not hesitate. It is a love so vast, so deep, that no one is forgotten, no one is abandoned. From the towering mountains to the quiet streams, from the joyful laughter of a child to the quiet tears of the weary, God's love is there, ever present. It is in the embrace of a friend, in the kindness of a stranger, in the forgiveness we never thought we deserved. It is not reserved for the perfect, nor given only to the righteous. It is for all, for the broken, for the doubting, for the lost, for the seeking. God's love does not come with conditions. It does not say, only if you are good enough, only if you are strong enough, only if you have never stumbled. No, his love is for the one who falls and the one who rises, for the one who questions and the one who believes, for every single soul, whether they recognize it or not. I will please myself with your body as I lick and taste upon your essence. I have not had my way with a boy in so long. You understand, I will send you to God himself, and when you become enlightened, you will thank your dear sister.
Sarah said to the young Dante. Sarah proceeded to take off the boy's clothes and stripped him.
Will you be a good boy and let me have my way with you?
Sarah asked Dante. Please, I just want to get out of here. This is no place for a boy. I see the black candles. I see things in the corner laughing at me. I am going to die! He screamed, but was met with a series of slaps to the face.
How dare you spit on my gift, stupid fucker! Stupid boy, I will have my fucking way with you whether you want it or not.
Sister Sarah screamed. Then she took out a syringe which had the bones of babies, for when the candle was moved slightly, he saw the children who they promised got a new family who left in the middle of the night. He saw flesh eaten by maggots and the babies' severed limbs. Boys and girls alike, he screamed and screamed trying to escape, but the sister was too fast and grabbed him, bashing his head on the ground.
You must be starving. Here you go, you fucking piggy.
As she said this, she shoved the maggot-filled corpses into his mouth. All he could do was cry. She took a broomstick and inserted it into Dante's ass, in and out. The pain was uncomfortable and laughing from the girl could be heard. She waited a bit and soon the strange syringe started to work. He was now in a zombified state and his little penis erected. She sucked him off and made the boy fuck him when it was done. After 2 hours, Mr. and Mrs. Schneider did the same and left him for a few hours just to do everything again. When it wore off, he could be heard screaming for the syringe, which made one also forget the trauma they endured for a time. Soon after a month, he thought it couldn't get any worse than it already had. However, when he awoke, a huge water tank was found here.
Hey boy, wake up! God has one more gift for you. Don't die now. You did the crime, so do the fucking time. Let me show you what happens to the bad children. Dante Alvarez, your mother hated you. That's why she beat you as a baby with beer bottles and threw you into the walls. I came to her as a child before your birth and told her God's will. Now she slays evil in the name of all things holy. She should have had a girl, but we can't choose what God has in store for us. You were showered with God's light, but now that you spat on my fucking face, but not doing anything, you were stripped of the love, and now only the darkness awaits your weak, mortal, and wicked soul. Goodbye, Dante. Die alone and be reborn.
As Ronnie said that he shoved Dante's head in the tank till he drowned. After 3 minutes, the boy's body stopped moving, and he was dead for 6 minutes. But by some miracle, he survived, and praises could be heard.
God has saved the wickedness of the boy's heart. Let us go celebrate and tell the other children.
Thus, they left. But when they left, something came to the boy from the shadows.
Hello, child. My name is Mr. Hudson. No child should go through this. I know this isn't much comfort, but let me help you and be your friend.
The man said from the corner before coming into the light. He was a tall man with a burned face. His eyes burned shut. His mouth deformed as now his teeth were visible, and a fancy hat like the old folks often wore. He had a black and brown stitched tuxedo with a burned long coat, but was he friend or foe? Chapter 2. The Curious Case of Dante Alvarez. He comforted the boy, but he was horrid to gaze upon. Skin burned off with muscle tissue and bone visible. His arms and legs elongated, but his forearm skin looked like a lizard. His eyes burned shut, so how could he see? His mouth burned off, so his teeth could be seen. But despite his monstrous look, he was gentle, patient, and loving to Dante Alvarez. What the two talked about isn't clear, for even Dante never spoke of their conversations. But ever since that time in the basement, he never spoke in detail what happened. No doubt it was too traumatic to speak about, for in reality, Dante Alvarez was beaten, defiled, and brought to the brink of death itself, all in the name of God. So it's no wonder why Dante never liked anything relating to the God the Christians follow. Folks who were evil lurked this house, but something more sinister would take its place. Dante would struggle with mood swings, anger, and rage his whole life. However, soon he was let out the basement, and the kids knew he was different. A boy who always used to start fights with Dante came up to him and tried putting him in a chokehold, but this time was different.
From the pits of agony I was born, child. From the tombs of your bastard father I rose. We are all intertwined with death and life. But what is life without the fear of death, Ryan Spivey? From the sacred lands of Haiti I was birthed.
Oh, but the bad children of this self-proclaimed God will meet their end. All who follow the cult of the Antichrist will burn. Did you know that modern Christianity was born from a man who sacrificed children to Yavo, the demon of the wayward croak? The demon stands 14 feet tall and is muscular with 6 arms about its body, 6 eyes to see the fate of humans, and 6 tails to weight their sins against the weight of goodness. He possesses the weak and makes them think they are God himself. He makes them see the angels, but in reality, they are all demons under his control. Yavo is of the dukes of hell who follow Lucifer. However, he is the strongest duke, often known to have the powers on par with princes of hell. I never liked you, Ryan, so we will play a little game. I like to call it Ryan's broken little fingers, Dante said to Ryan and smirked. Now he easily got out of the chokehold, smacked Ryan till he bled, and finally grabbed one of his finger and bent it till it broke. Ryan Spivey screamed in pain, but the boy just told him to hush or he would break another. So from then on, he kept quiet, as he was beaten and left with 4 broken fingers. When it was done, Dante peed on Ryan and told him never to fuck with him again. The kids were terrified of Dante, for what the fuck happened to him in the basement. Benjamin, Courtney, Ryan, Paul, Susan, Jupiter, Juniper, Virginia, Derek, and Ethan would all bear witness to the changes in Dante Alvarez. They no doubt treated him as garbage, and soon they would beg for death. For what lurked next to Dante was a demon who fed on fear, who loved to play games and would stop at nothing to see the church destroyed. Get ready to hear the story of Dante Alvarez during his stay at the Schneider's house for orphans. Dante showed his dominance, but would Virginia and Derek fall in line after they saw their friend treated like a dog? Virginia's blood began to boil, for she never liked Dante, and this sent her over the edge.
This is why the white folks don't like you, Dante. You deserve not even the crumbs from the dogs. I will beat that smirk off your face. Papa has shown us who God really is, and he spits in your pitiful face, brother. You will forever regret this. You pig, you fucking monster. You don't belong here.
Virginia screamed. Oh, my sweet moth, you think Dante is here? You speak of things so far beyond your limited scope of logic that all the celestial beings, God, and the devil himself are laughing. How can a mere 6-year-old girl think she is on the level of one of the old ones? I have created the seeds in the hearts of all. My wife has been with me through it all, and she will devour you in her net. Dante is sleeping, for that so-called papa of yours has beaten, defiled, and committed the greatest sins in the name of holiness. The God of the Christians have long been eroded with the lies from the Church of the Thorn Trees, for demons control the man who thinks himself God. That shit-stain claims he is God, but he is not. He is controlled by the demon Yavo, and it's funny how you spit in this boy's face. I will make sure you and Dante make it to the basement this week. Let us bring Derek along too, Dante said to Virginia. Suddenly, they all heard footsteps, and Dante ran his leg across the sharp metal part of the beds and started bleeding out. While screaming, he smiled at Derek and Virginia. Good luck, my friends. Can you survive this? Just as he said this, a dark shadow came behind Dante and then vanished as the room got deathly cold. The footsteps quickened as a voice asked what was wrong. Mama! Virginia said she was going to steal my chores and threw me into the bed. She said, fuck Papa, and that God is not real. She said she'd rather be alone than to see your face, Mama. Please stop. She even hurt Ryan. Dante spoke, as tears were seen streaming down his face. The mother embraced him and told him that she would deal with this. Thus, on that night, a seed of lies was created inside the hearts of his heart. And no one would speak up on what really happened, because no doubt they were terrified of what this boy would do to them. It was as if Dante changed overnight. But who could blame him? He would be found being more violent, but as one gazed upon his brown eyes, they seemed hollow, as if he were in a trance somehow. Sometimes Dante would be himself, other times he was seen talking to himself, and yet other times he would just stare with an evil smile that made one uncomfortable. The curious story of what happened to Dante Alvarez was just beginning. Chapter 3. The Basement and the Olden Ones. In the darkness it rose from the wooden chair, for all bad children met the wrath of God here. Its footsteps could be heard as sounds of dripping echoed off the eardrums and reverberated throughout the skull. As the eyes opened, searing pain was felt by a girl who was shown the gift of God. Blood dripped from her head, arms, and legs as wounds could be felt. She was reminded that Mr. Schneider stood at the top of this household, for he was God. God had no place for disobedient children. God would punish all those who were wicked. Ronnie Schneider was God, and God was him. Thus, after being told that she stole and spoke blasphemy against Papa Schneider and all his teachings, the girl was thrown into the basement. The little girl was defiled, just as Dante had been. But before his lessons could be finished, a loud crash could be heard, and they went rushing upstairs where they left the girl.
What the fuck is happening in my house? I will not have...
Suddenly, Ronnie Schneider stopped speaking, for it was Dante smashing Benjamin's face with the vase. Smash! Crash!
Stop it! Please, I am sorry, Dante. It won't happen again. What is happening to you? You are a monster! You hear me, fucker? You have let the devil inside your heart. You suck, and you are wicked. Papa will guide you to the light.
Ah! Benjamin screamed, only to be met with a smile. The smile was unnatural and spread from one earlobe to another. Dante hissed and laughed uncontrollably like a wild man. Papa is possessed by Yavo the demon, who tricks the weak into thinking they have the powers of the heavens. Why the fuck would an all-powerful God give up his powers to a weak, drunken, woman-beating, child-beating piece of shit? Don't make me laugh. Ronnie is nothing but a misguided child, and when I am free, I will kill all who have been tainted by that Duke of Hell. I will commit the sin of murder as I kill all who follow his teachings. I have come from the ancient world where Jesus himself rose from death, because in his blood, he carries the powers of the Olden Ones. The Olden Ones are few, and their tales tainted, twisted, and corrupted by men who would see the world burn as they follow not God, but the Church of the Thorn Trees. Jesus, who died on the cross, according to Christian folklores. Moses, who parted the Red Sea. Enoch, the man who created El Segurini, the place that never existed and always has been. Derek Meridian Hudson, the man of the red seed. Dara Jeanette Hudson, the lady of the webbed trees. Together, these individuals make up the tall seeds. It was Yavo who sought their powers and created a church to destroy those who opposed his demonic reign. He wanted to become a tall seed, for they never existed, and always existed, meaning they control fate itself. Through lies, he seeks powers, but he will rise up as he tries to eat one of the tall seeds, gaining the power to control them all. It was Yavo who got Jesus crucified. It was Yavo who tried assassinating Enoch, but just as the scriptures say, he walked with God, then he was no more. Enoch was taken to heaven, then he vanished from our mortal planet. He managed to kill Mr. Hudson, but not his soul, for before his death, he escaped with Mrs. Hudson to El Segurini. Now Yavo lurks the deepest, darkest parts of the planet to devour them. Dante said to Benjamin and the other children, rage filled the heart of Papa, and now he could not contain his anger.
How fucking dare you? I was given godhood by God himself. I saw him. I witnessed the angels. I witnessed celestial beings. This foolishness will get you punished severely. Come here, you filthy shit.
Papa screamed and would proceed to throw Dante down the stairs, where he would spend not a day here, not a week here, but an entire year. things were never the same. There was so much more to uncover, and soon it would come to light. The truth about Ronnie, what was lurking in the shadows, what the tall seeds really were, and about the sinister demon called Yavo himself. Like all stories from childhood, there are always places kids are terrified to go. For some, it's under the bed at night. For others, a dark closet. And even for some, the basement. The Schneider's house for orphans was no exception to this. The horrors the children witnessed here was a waging war that had started long ago, and like chess, they were all being played. A madman who thought himself to be God. A boy who awakened the tall seeds, and the dark Duke of Hell Yavo were all here as evil was beginning to take hold. For it snuffed the light out of children and brainwashed them to commit grave sins. A week had passed, but none came inside the basement. It was just Virginia and Dante all alone. Dante came back to reality after 4 days of just staring at Virginia, drooling as if he would eat her and his body twisting about. This made her uncomfortable. She was tired, hungry, and cold. However, the strangest thing happened when he awoke. "Hey, Virginia, what happened? Why are we down here? How long have you been in here?" Dante asked. In desperation, she was now glad he was awake. It wasn't that violent new version of him, but she was still worried.
Hey, Dante. After your speech to Papa and what you have been doing, they locked us in here and never came back. You lied to Papa, and now he has gone mad, accusing me of blasphemy. Tell me, Dante, did you mean to do all those things? It's no hard feelings, brother. We don't share chores because we are scared to come down here. But it's your fucking fault you're so slow, and will get us all in trouble.
Virginia said, but she glanced a large mirror behind Dante, and she saw something move. What was in the mirror? Was she just tired? Who is to say? What she would see would haunt her forever. What she saw was a figure, but it wasn't Dante Alvarez. Its long arm around the boy was horrid. She began to cry as she saw a lizard skin-like arm. She saw the man's burned face with his burned teeth, and he motioned to her to shh as he quickly disappeared. They needed to think what the fuck to do. She wasn't bound like that of Dante, so she searched the room and found a telephone. They had done it together. They would call 911.
Hello, this is 911. How can I help you?
The dispatcher said on the line. Hope filled the children's hearts, for they were hungry, weak, and cold.
Help us! Please, we're trapped in the basement of Schneider's house of orphans. Please, me and my brother will not survive much longer.
Virginia said, but the next thing they heard would make their hearts drop.
Hello, this is 911. How can I help you?
The voice said again and again and again. It was an endless loop, and out of anger, she slammed the telephone to the ground. She tried running towards the window that had a slit. She screamed and screamed, but this did nothing. Nobody would come to their aid, not a soul in sight. You see, the children had never went outside their yard. No stores, no real doctor appointments, for Dr. Wang only came to the house. They were alone. But suddenly, they heard scrambling in the corner. The corner was dark, and none could see through it. "What is it, Virginia? Are you okay?" Dante asked, but she just pointed to the corner.
What the fuck is that? Hello? Who are you? Have you been watching us the whole fucking time? You think this is funny, don't you?
The girl screamed. Then suddenly she saw a woman in a black and red dress walk from the darkness.
Oh, my child, I am no enemy. My heart breaks for thee. My heart aches for you and Dante. I saw what Ronnie Schneider had done alongside of his wife and daughter to the boy. How can a so-called holy man or God himself defile a boy? Beat a child for just existing? It is disgusting and makes my heart ache. I can offer no gifts that will ease your physical pain. Only the gift of a real mother, friend, and companion. Dante's eyes have been opened to the tall seeds, but still he cannot see or hear me. My lovely husband has reached him, and for now, that is the only thing that matters. Let me help you so Dante and you can free yourself, dear. I am Dara Janet Hudson, the lady of the webbed trees. When the crimson fluids of the body scream, I ensnare evil bees. May the followers of Yavo burn. May the Christian ones wait their turn. I am the spider of the Olden Ones. I am of the tall seed's Hun.
The strange woman said to Virginia. Just as quickly as she came, she soon vanished. She turned around, and one could see her lizard-like tail. She was of the tall seeds, and who exactly was this group? Well, they had a duty to stop those the demon Yavo possessed, but were they as good as they seemed? I would hope so. Chapter 4, A Year Later. Part 1, The Woman Who Found God. The air thick with crippling unease, as if goo melted our realities, as if God were laughing at us as he allowed the devil to play his sickening game. Where is Dante and Virginia? Papa and Mama? We haven't heard from them in some time now. We heard chains rattling. We heard noises inside the walls. Will God come and save us? Paul and Susan asked with a look of concern. A feeling so strange crept in that house. The children felt something was wrong, but no one knew why. The air colder. Each pipe inside the walls of the house seemed to squeak and shake. A presence more daunting, as all felt the darkness creeping to suffocate us all. Papa more on edge and restless.
Don't worry now, my little angels. Dante and Virginia are in the presences of enlightenment, as they will see God. God has not abandoned you. I am him who stands at the top. As you have seen God, you have seen me, and I have seen you, my children. As the prophets of old went through fire and trials, so will we as the Schneider family. The devil knocks on the heart of little Dante, but we mustn't falter as we keep going on this pilgrim's walk. No, God favors this family. Sin will not be tolerated.
Ronnie said. To his core, he was a religious fanatic, obsessed, zealot, for he thought himself to be God. But why would God need to lock us in the basement? Why would God be so evil? All questions I would not even have the answers to later on in my life. I witnessed the sinful acts of both the tall seeds, Yavo, Ronnie Schneider. I witnessed the terror of Willie O. Stitches as he terrorized my life. I witnessed the power a mimic could hold. I witnessed the birth of what truly started this demonic hold on my life, the wayward lady. But even so, I never knew why God just left me to suffer as I did. That did not make sense. Nothing he did made sense, to be honest. Ronnie forbade children from even looking towards the basement door. The door eerie and daunting with chains about its frame. That bright yellow door painted with a border of red as if blood splattered its core. Days turned to weeks and months turned to a year. But how did we survive? We ate the children who were left here to die. Mounds of rotting flesh. Children who were told to us who had met God, and we assumed they made it to their new families. Bones severed. Organs spilling on the cold basement floor as maggots crawled. Our minds were warped. We saw Mr. Hudson, heard him, conversed with him, and the same with Mrs. Hudson. We conversed, we talked. We learned of Yavo, the tall seeds, and the woman who saw God just as Papa had. Her name was Ellen G. White. She taught Papa all about how to ascend to godhood, for a Christian denomination was so evil called themselves Seventh-day Adventists. But the truth was much more sinister. They came from the Church of the Thorn Trees. a story that most would never believe. A story, an organization that had been in the works for centuries. If you have heard of that parallel universe, know one thing. This story had no travelers coming to save us. In this world, the heart conjured up the darkest demons any universe has ever seen. It was through the darkest, vile obsession of the hearts of mankind that birthed the Baba demons, Willie O. Stitches, the Man in Purple, the Surgical Painter, and now the Church of the Thorn Trees. A man had lost everything. He had a child on the way, but could not stop gambling his life away. God, oh my Lord, why am I addicted to fucking sin? Please help me one last time. I know I have sinned. I don't talk to you as I should. I treat my wife so terrible. I don't deserve your kindness. However, he was cut off by two thieves. Oh, look, Barney, we got a fucking crazy lunatic. What the church fuckers say? God works in mysterious ways. It makes me laugh. Yeah, mate. He will see you die, and you dumb as hell. I can't blame you. It's one of them Christian fucks. Let us play a game, mate. Will God save you? Or is he as fake as the thought that you will survive the night? A tall, skinny man said to the stranger. Oh, God! Oh, my fucking God! You are all-knowing. Please save your sinful child, please. I can't leave Rena. I can't. The man named Barney pulled out a knife and stabbed the man in the chest. As it ripped into his flesh, he screamed. The other man grabbed him and covered his mouth. Oh, no! It hurts! What a fucking shit stain. Now give me your money and we will make it quick. You can't run from Timmy Peters, the thief said. These two were Timmy Peters and Barney Gilly, two known serial killers. The man begged and cried, said he did not have any money left. Don't you fuck with me, you pussy! Timmy pulled a gun out and shoved it in the temples of the man. I will ask one last time, you fucking bimbo. Where the money at? The man cried as he knew death was approaching. Suddenly, footsteps could be heard on that dark, cloudy, and foggy night.
Leave the man alone, you hoodlums,
A woman's voice said. Timmy and Barney looked up. Bitch, keep your dirty ass nose out of grown folk business before I put a slug in your fucking head. You ain't want that pretty face fucked, do you? Barney yelled at the woman with foul language. However, soon they both laughed. Her eyes were white because she was blind. She had a walking stick, but it was strange. One could feel energy from its surface, a strange feeling. Made of wood and had golden carvings on it. Upon its top, a golden frog could be seen on its surface. You can't even see. What the fuck will you do? The thieves asked the lady, but nothing could be heard. Was she afraid? Would she meet the same exact fate as the man she was trying to save? Most likely. But the love of God fueled her passion to save lost souls. And believe me, this man was lost. The woman was small. She had a red, long dress, but something seemed off. Something seemed odd. Something seemed strange. If you wanted to have a good time, girlie should have just said so. After I fuck you, I will slit your goddamn throat and shoot you in the head, whore. She giggled. She laughed. She smirked.
I doubt that. God has come to save that man. My plans won't be stopped by people who mean nothing. Your guns are flowers, and your eyes are stitched. Barney. Timmy, your teeth are rotting as maggots eat your knees. From Yavo to El Sigorini, the place that never existed and always has been. I have come to seek prophets. You will not die, boys, but you will see the power of God Himself. Or perhaps you will die. Only the universe knows.
The two thieves were confused, for how did this woman know their names? Barney lost his cool and lunged at the woman, screaming in rage with his gun in his hand. It connected to the woman's face, but she just smirked and giggled.
Thanks for the flower, love. If you wanted to take me out on a date, you need to work on your manners, child.
She said, and soon blackness invaded his vision. What was going on? His eyes were stitched shut, just as she said. Timmy screamed, but his teeth came falling out of his mouth as his teeth cracked and shattered. Small bits fell down to the ground, and some fell into his throat, and he screamed in pain. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the? Maggots could be seen tearing into that man's tongue until it came falling out and onto the ground. He dropped to his knees and soon died. Soon, the other thief met the same fate. The man who the woman had saved was now in shock.
Hello, love. My name is Ellen, and I have heard your cries to God. Let me show you the path to godhood. I have so many plans for you, Ronnie Schneider.
She said to him, and this would start Ronnie on the path to becoming God. Part 2. The Symbol of God. The blood stopped too quickly. How did the wound disappear? Ronnie Schneider felt it before he saw it. The way the warmth draining from his chest simply reversed. Flesh that had been split open moments ago tightened like a mouth sealing shut. Muscle re-knit with a wet, quiet sound. Bone, God, he was sure something had cracked, slid back into place like it had never dared to break. He was sure Barney and Tim had killed him. Nothing made sense. Ellen's hands were still pressed against him. They were cold. Not the cold of skin, but the cold of something that had never known warmth at all. But yet it was magnificent. Cold yet warm at the same time. You see, she said softly. Ronnie staggered back, clutching his shirt. There was no blood, no wounds, nothing but a faint, spiraling scar that hadn't been there before, like something had written itself into him rather than healed him. What are you? He whispered. Am I that far gone where madness has taken me to hell itself? Oh, my Lord! Ellen laughed. Her white eyes gazed at his face. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't kind either, at least at first, but still made him feel like he could trust her. It was the kind of laugh that sounded like it had been learned, memorized from a time when laughter still meant something. I told you, she said, we should go back to my house, for I have much to explain, my love. Her house was so far from everything, the walk there long, but at the same time, they were there in an instant. Time worked differently. Ronnie couldn't remember the walk nor the drive properly. Roads bent in ways he couldn't retrace, turns that didn't exist on any map, stretches of forest that seemed to close behind them like a throat swallowing. The house itself leaned slightly, like it was listening. Inside, the air smelled faintly sweet, like rot masked with perfume. You have questions, Ellen said, removing her coat. I can hear them. Ronnie watched her carefully. Her eyes were warm, her face sweet, not blind, not really. They moved too precisely, too knowingly, but the pupils were gone, replaced by a milky surface that shimmered faintly, as if something deep behind them was trying to look out. You healed me, he said. Those men, you didn't even touch them and they unraveled, she finished. He swallowed. That's not possible. For mere words to control the fate of others? It is for God. Love, I am God in the flesh, she said to Ronnie. She made tea. Ronnie didn't drink it. He was confused. Would he die here like the thieves died? Steam rose from the cup in strange, spiraling patterns, forming shapes that almost looked like symbols if he stared too long. He forced himself to look away. Do you believe in God, Ronnie? Ellen asked. I used to. I feel I have drifted so far away. My wife shouts that God will never love an alcoholic, that it is too late for me. I have begun to believe her words, but I have hope that I will be kissed by God's good graces one day. If not now, then a decade from now. I must maintain hope. I want to serve him and only him. That's a good answer, she said. The ones who say yes are always the easiest to break, but the ones that actually ponder on a real answer will become the prophets of God. I have seen your cries, Ronnie. Your wife, how she is now, does not deserve my grace, but you, my sweet Ronnie, will transcend into the light. Something shifted in the walls. Not a sound, a feeling. A feeling that Ronnie had never felt before, or at least not this intensely. Like something vast had leaned closer to listen. Ronnie's hands trembled. You said something out there about Seventh-day Adventists, about slaughter? Ellen smiled faintly. History is a story told by survivors, she said. And sometimes, the wrong things survive. Folks that should have been long erased come back, and preachers lying to their congregations as they get richer. Folks been fooled into sin. It's a factual idea based on the ones who've been left behind. She began with a name. Yavo. The word felt wrong in the air. When his name was spoken, the air held its breath as the wind remained silent. Ronnie's stomach tightened immediately, a deep instinct recoiling from something his mind didn't understand. Ronnie stuttered as the words tried formulating from his mouth. Who or what is he? Not a demon, Ellen continued. Not an angel. Those are human categories. Yavo is older than those ideas. Older than the need to divide things into good and evil. Her head tilted slightly. Yavo is intention. Ronnie shook his head. That doesn't mean anything. It means everything, she whispered. According to Ellen, all one needed to become God is intention. Godhood was about willpower, and if one willed themselves to be God and their hearts were purified, then it would be so. In the early days, she said, there were those who believed the world was broken not because of sin, but because of choice. Free will, the great mistake. They believed humanity was suffering because it could choose, Ellen said, and that if you removed choice, you removed pain, removed conflict, removed sin. Ronnie felt sick. That's insane. It can't be the truth. Or could it? Yes, she said simply, but they were very, very devoted. They prayed, they fasted, they begged God for a way to fix the world. And something answered, Ellen said. Her milky eyes shimmered. Yavo, the one who took Enoch to heaven, came to them in the form they could accept. For some, it was God. For others, an angel. For a few, something stranger. Something that wore scripture like skin. Ronnie leaned back, heart pounding, mind in fear and skin sweating. And they just followed it blindly? Ellen's smile widened slightly. It performed miracles. She leaned closer. Like I did. Ronnie's gaze dropped involuntarily to his side. The scar was moving. Not visibly, but he could feel it shifting beneath his skin, like something alive was adjusting itself. He slapped his hand over it. What did you do to me? Ellen didn't answer. Ellen embraced the scared Ronnie. Her lips blushed as she grabbed his face and kissed the man. I cannot cheat on my wife. I cannot be devoted to a sinful life. The wind stopped. You cannot commit sin against your wife, darling. I am God, and this is what I desire. Your body, your essence, the life you can give. I guess you are right. And I do want to please God, Ronnie said. Ellen unbuckled his pants. He grabbed her butt underneath her dress, undid her dress, and now her red lacy underwear exposed. He ran his finger across her silky red underwear and eventually across the nipples of her breast. He could not contain his lust for God. The hearts seemed to pound and thud for them both. He took off his shirt and underwear, as she did too, as they were both naked and free. He kissed her neck. Ellen began to smile in bliss. She pleased Ronnie, and Ronnie did the same to her. Now, like primitive primates, they fucked and fucked. His genitals inside her as she moaned with pleasure, her vagina tingling with the juices flowing inside her. His milky essence pleased her greatly. She wanted more and needed more. Oh, Ronnie. Oh, baby, come inside me. Give me the gift of offspring. I love it. God loves you. I need you. I want you. Ravish me in bliss. She screamed and soon rode him like a horse as he smacked her ass. Both of their eyes rolled in the back of their heads. He felt in perfect harmony. Once upon a time, he would have thought this a sin, but Rena was erased from his mind at this point. They made love. They fucked till fluid came out of them both, oozing with passion, oozing with love, and oozing with bliss. This was the day Ronnie made love with God. Soon afterwards, she continued. They were shown a place, she said. A place beyond time, beyond existence. A place that never existed and always has. Elsa Gorini. A place created by Father Enoch, the human who never died. The name landed heavier than Yavo. Ronnie felt it in his teeth, in his bones, like his body recognized it as something it should never hear. It was created, Ellen said, by a man who thought he understood God. Enoch, Ronnie blinked. That, biblical. Yes, she said, or something like it. Enoch, she explained, had found a way to step outside of time, not through holiness, but through absence, through erasing himself piece by piece until there was nothing left to anchor him to reality. But something remained, Ellen said. A structure, a place, a thought that refused to die. Elsa Gorini, a place without beginning, without end, a place where cause and effect tangled into something meaningless. And Yavo used it, she said. For what? Ronnie whispered. Ellen's expression softened. For correction. Ronnie stood abruptly. No, I'm done. This is insane. This is... Sit down, darling. Her voice changed. It wasn't louder. It was deeper. Not in sound, but in presence. Ronnie's knees buckled. He sat. They began to use Elsa Gorini, Ellen continued calmly, to remove free will, not through persuasion, but through rewriting. She tapped her temple. People would disappear. Entire towns, entire histories, replaced with better versions, controlled versions. Ronnie's breath came in short bursts. That's not possible. You said that before, she reminded him. And yet, did you ever think having sex with God was possible? She gestured to his side. They slaughtered millions, she said. Not with weapons, with intention, with divine certainty that they were fixing the world. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but something older. Children born without the ability to choose. Men and women who smiled forever because they could not do anything else. Ronnie gagged. That's not salvation, but slavery, he said. No, Ellen agreed. It isn't. Slavery was what the intent was. So what happened? He asked. Ellen was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Yavo chose me. The room felt smaller, closer, like the walls had leaned in. I was blind, she said, truly blind. I saw nothing. I was perfect. Her fingers traced the edge of her cup. They told me I had been chosen as a little girl, that I would help bring the final correction, that I would see as God sees. Her head tilted. And I did. Ronnie's voice shook. What did you see? Ellen smiled, and something in that smile broke him. I saw that God is not singular and is weakened by the sins of humanity. The lights flickered. For a moment, just a moment, Ronnie saw something behind her. Not a shadow, a shape. Too large, too wrong. Like her body was just a thin layer stretched over something vast and shifting. He screamed and fell back. The vision snapped away. Ellen remained, sitting, smiling. Yavo lied, she said softly. Or perhaps it told the truth in a way we couldn't understand. Her milky eyes locked onto him. There is no single will, no single God. There are many, overlapping, contradicting, endless. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And some of them want to become you. Ronnie clawed at his side. The scar was opening, not outward, inward. His skin peeled slightly, not bleeding, but revealing something beneath that wasn't flesh. Symbols, moving, rewriting. The symbol of God. No, no, no. What is this? Ellen stood and walked toward him. You were healed, she said gently. You were corrected. She knelt beside him. And now, you're being seen. His body began to change. Not violently, not all at once, but subtly, wrongly. His fingers bent slightly too far. His vision doubled, then tripled, angles overlapping in ways that made no sense. He could see Ellen, and behind her, and through her, layers. Endless layers. Something enormous watched through her eyes. Do you understand now? She asked. Ronnie sobbed. Make it stop, please. I can't, she said. And for the first time, she sounded sad. Actually sad. Free will, she whispered, is just the illusion that you are choosing which God is looking through you. Her hand touched his face. Cold. Infinite. You were very interesting, Ronnie Schneider. I wished we had more time. But you see, only one God can control this earth at a time. The house leaned further. The walls pulsed faintly. And somewhere far beyond reality, El Segurini shifted. A place that never existed. A place that always had been. Waiting. Yet not waiting. Expanding. Correcting. Ronnie's scream didn't echo. It folded inward, vanishing before it could exist. Just like choice. Just like him. It was during this time memories shifted. Those who used to be God, memories melded with his. Ellen G. White, William of Ockham, Benjamin Kimar, and even Jesus Christ. There was Yavo, who guided those into godhood. There was Enoch, who created El Segurini. And then there was the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who sought to take away free will. Ronnie's mind was opened, and soon he would meet Yavo in the flesh. Part 3. The Cult of God. The mind seemed mad. For Ronnie, this was just a dream. The chest was tight. Maybe it was disbelief. For now his mind was open. But mortals were never supposed to obtain the eyes of God. It couldn't be real. Or could it? Unfortunately, this was no bad dream. He met God. He ravished God's body in pure bliss. Or was it lust? He would soon meet Yavo and witness the terror of El Segurini, the place that never existed and always has been. A shadow approached him. However, he was not scared. His mind was already changing. The things he cared for once upon a time were now slowly becoming nothing. The things Ronnie once was afraid of, he welcomed with opened arms. It was man-shaped, and when it approached, it was beautiful. Tall, platinum hair, and one might say even angelic-like. It wore magnificent robes as if it were royalty. Eyes a piercing white, but not like Ellen's. The color of his eyes had shape, it had substance, it had soul.
Hello, child of Enoch. I have long awaited you. There are things that are true and not true. I took of rib and bones from the children who sought the power of God for themselves. Free will they sought to snuff out like a dying willow in a valley. Ellen has been a great help. For once she was a champion for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, a vile organization that seeks to keep folks under their tyrannical rule. Some call them Christians, but their blood is tainted with greed and hate. It happened many times before. They saw me as evil, but I am just a messenger, a guide, an advisor, and bear no power of mankind. The Adventist Church is a cult created to snuff out the light.
It saddens me that humans have fallen like that of Lucifer, but it's only a concept. Lucifer and God are the same, a concept crafted by the Church of the Thorn Trees, better known as the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The year they were established was long ago by seemingly pioneers of the scriptures. It was May 21st, 1863 in Michigan that these devils emerged from nothing, and its leader was none other than Ellen G. White. Many speculate that her middle name stood for Gould, but time knows it to stand for God. It was said she was blind, but once she received the eyes of God, the Church of the Thorn Trees would emerge as a seemingly God-centered religion, but underneath sin and ruin, it was a cult. It began as a whisper passed between cracked lips and sleepless minds, as something emerged from another place, but something whose whispers were new yet always there. Lucifer fell because he understood too much. And understanding, as I would come to learn, is the most violent thing a human body can endure. True knowledge is no gift, no, my friend, it is a curse to madness, and all gods are mad. They called it the Church of the Thorn Trees in hushed tones, though publicly it wore the skin of something gentler, orderly, devout, harmless. A place of hymns and folded hands. A place where sin was confessed and absolution was promised. A place where Jesus walked and performed miracles, but the truth underneath the lies was slavery. Beneath the hymns, there was something else, something different. Humanity first heard of her through a journal, rotted leather, pages fused with something darker than water. The ink had bled into the paper like veins, forming shapes that almost moved when stared at too long. Ellen G. White. Yes, the same woman that Ronnie had committed the act of lust with. The same woman who turned Papa into God. The name pulsed in my mind, not written, embedded. The journal claimed she was blind once, that she stumbled through the world like any other fragile creature of flesh. But then, on a night no one could agree upon, she was gifted sight. Not restored sight, no. Gifted. Folks say that Beelzebub visited her. Some say God did. But truth be told, it was something evil that sought the erasing of mankind and free will. The first account described it as the cult of God. Those who gazed upon its pages described that they wished they had stopped reading. Her eyes were removed without pain. That is what she told them. Without pain, without fear, without resistance. She said she felt hands, not human, slide into her skull like fingers through wet clay. When they returned, she could see not the world, but what lived behind it. They say when she opened her new eyes for the first time, she didn't scream. Everyone else did, for it had been a whole year since her eyesight vanished. The church began to grow after that. People claimed miracles, tumors collapsing like punctured fruit, broken limbs knitting themselves together with audible wet clicks. Sins erased, not forgiven, but removed. That was the word they used. Removed. Like rot cut from meat. But removal leaves cavities, and cavities demand filling. Yavo said he went to Michigan because he needed to know if it was real. not just a made-up story.
Repent from sin, my brothers and sisters in Christ. I was once a child with sight, but the very sins of my parents left me blind. I repented from a bloodline of sinful acts, and it was here I knew. It was then I became. It was now I am God. As Jesus came to walk amongst men, I am guided into the light. I have seen a place that has always been and never was. I have seen the heavens, my friends. I have ascended into godhood. It is in the food. It is in the water. It is in our hearts. Stop eating the meat of the world, and be ye transformed in the renewal of God Almighty. God made the blind able to see, so must we. God healed illnesses, and so must we. God loved his enemies, and so must we. The issue is free will. Like a plague, it will consume even the babies. Know the love of God is for all, be it whites, blacks, yellows, and browns. We must unite. We must be disciplined and honor the seventh day, Sabbath, as the day of remembrance, for when God created life, he said, "It is good."
A woman could be heard. Most people adored her, for she performed healing miracles just as Jesus had. Most loved her. She opened their eyes. But it wasn't through holy acts. It was a facade. This Christian faith was dipped in witchcraft, but none knew. There was a few people who opposed her, but slowly their bloodline died out due to poor health. It was no Bible they read, but the Book of Elsa Guarini, better known today as the Book of Enoch.
By the Lord our Savior Jesus Christ, you are going to hell, Ellen! You must repent. These folks are lost sheep. The Bible is the only word of God. St. Peter and Paul have talked about evil folk like you. Thomas and even Jesus spoke of the evilness as you corrupt the church like a Pharisees.
And Rabbanim, by the Holy Father, you are done here, you wicked woman.
These people follow you into damnation, as you promise things you cannot give. You speak on things you do not know, woman. You are no prophet. You perform witchcraft, you heathen. You will burn in the very pits of hellfire.
An elder of the church said, "Who was this man?" Yavo explained that Ellen had received the gift of God symbol, the eyes of God herself. Some people did not agree that she was God. It was unheard of. However, it was from her very mouth that Elder Barnes would see the powers of God. Ellen gazed at the man, and an eerie feeling of chaos and madness grew thick in the church that day.
You are feeble, old man, and God has abandoned you for your jealousy. That the gift of God has been bestowed upon a woman. Maybe it is because you fail to keep your own children in the path of light as they drink and fornicate. Your offspring lay down with prostitutes, and your wife no longer gives you love, but she sleeps around with men committing adultery. Your house is in shambles, and it's nobody's fault but your own. See with clarity, elder, lest your mouth be closed and your tongue mute. God has retired and left me as his messenger. I fly on flaming chariots like Elijah and speak the truth like St. John did. I have come with the angel Yavo to cleanse your wicked soul. Your home is Sodom, your heart Gomorrah. Become salt as you fade away into Elsa Guarini, you Satan-loving man.
Ellen said with pure rage in her heart. And soon a harsh wind came upon the church's inside walls. A thunderous voice echoed throughout the house of the Lord. A bright light shone, and it was here the people vaguely saw the silhouette of an angel, the angel Yavo. From Yavo's own mouth, it was spoken clearly. Ellen is God. What she says is the truth. Let it be so. Amen. Screams could be heard as the elder's skin became the color of ash. Fire enveloped the man who had cursed at Ellen. Elder Barnes' bones cracked as dust fell. He was in agonizing pain now. His skin fell off as ash fell to the ground, and soon he was just a mound of dust, dirt, and ash. His children soon met the same fate, and his wife. Everyone was terrified, but Ellen told them he was of the devil, and just like that, they were on her side again. The Church of the Thorned Trees would go on to preaching the second coming of Jesus. They preached that the body was the temple and forced its members to eat a diet that supported this. They called people who did not follow their twisted doctrine of the world, and they persecuted those people. Men, women, and children were kidnapped, beaten, tortured, and slaughtered, all in the name of God. They received funding from the Vatican, Korea, and the Church of Satan. Behind the scenes, the Seventh-day Adventist Church would have more power than the Pope. It was one of the world's most darkest histories. Some power was so disturbing that the world kept it hidden. The fact that godhood was about intention, the church could not let others know of this. However, they knew not that a new God was born. A man far worse than Ellen G. White. A man that would leave an impact in Richmond, Virginia. That was their first mistake. Hiding valuable information isn't right. We deserve to all know the truth. Intention and curiosity are one and the same. Curiosity isn't a virtue, it's a door, and some doors are meant to remain buried. The church still stood. In the times of Ellen, none would oppose her after the death of Elder Barnes. Maybe she brainwashed them, but the fact that a seeming angel was on her side who would dare to stand up against God? Weathered wood, blackened spires, trees surrounding it like a crown of thorns, their branches twisted inward, as if trying to pierce the building itself, giving the church its true name, the Church of Throned Trees. It wasn't just an invitation, it was keeping something inside. No one greeted Ronnie when he entered. Hallways loomed with a darkness so thick, and soon this church would bend to the will of a God far darker than the last. One could feel it in the air, thick, damp, wrong, like breathing through soaked cloth, like the feeling of your death before it even comes. Devils pretending to be angels loomed this church. The pews were filled with people sitting perfectly still, too still, their heads bowed, their hands folded, praying, mumbling in tongues no English could touch, or waiting perhaps. Then suddenly one of them looked up, and he saw it. His eyes were wrong, his gaze soulless, his eyes empty but yet occupied. Something moved behind them, something slow and deliberate, pressing against the inside of his skull like a hand testing a wall. His lips parted. "We see you," he whispered. But the voice, it didn't belong to him. The others lifted their heads in perfect unison. The sound of it, the synchronized shifting of bone and muscle, was like 1,000 joints cracking at once, and every single one of them smiled. They all whispered, "Yavo and God, come to save the world. Do you wish to be forgiven? God does not commit sins." He should have ran, but as his mind was changing, a thought entered his mind. Why would God be afraid? All answers he once had, he knew now he was evolving. Instead, he scoffed and asked the question that doomed me. Forgiven of what? Their smiles widened, too wide. Skin stretched, lips tore, blood welled, not flowing downward, but inward, as if being drawn back into something beneath the surface. Of being human. They brought him to Mother, not by force. He walked and pondered. Who was Mother? Something compelled him forward, deeper into the church, into a room where the walls pulsed faintly, like a living throat swallowing. It felt familiar. And there she was, the mother, the woman thought to have just vanished. Her name was Ellen G. White. She sat in a chair grown from roots and bone, her body thin and stretched, as if her flesh had been pulled too tight over something larger trying to emerge. Much different from when he last saw her. No longer elegant, but demonic looking. Her hands were folded in her lap, too many fingers. They twitched independently, like pale worms tasting the air. But her face was peaceful until she opened her eyes. Words cannot describe them, not because I lack the words, but because they were not meant to be seen by anything that still calls itself human. They were not eyes, they were depths. And within those depths, something turned its attention toward Papa. You came seeking truth, as no mere man, but as God, she said. Her voice echoed inside my skull, bypassing my ears entirely. You will leave without illusion. God and Lucifer, she continued, are not opposites. They are perspectives, two ways of looking at the same infinite hunger. God existed in Lucifer, and Lucifer existed in God. They were the same, yet never existed, but then existed in the heart. Enoch learned this. He knew that God was loving, the same as Lucifer, yet dark. For light and dark must coexist at the same time. Light is darkness and darkness is light, yet they are their own elements. These words spoken from her mouth were loud, and one could feel its truth. She stood, her spine cracked, lengthening, vertebrae shifting like a chain being pulled too tight. Her skin split along her arms, not bleeding, opening. Inside was no muscle, no tissue, just movement. I was blind, she said softly, and then I was shown. Her fingers reached toward his face. Ronnie felt them before they touched him, felt them inside his thoughts, peeling them apart like layers of damp paper. Would you like to see? And in that moment, he understood. Everything was clear. Every miracle, every healing, every sin removed. They weren't being saved. They were being emptied. And Ronnie knew he had to do the same thing. They were hollowed out, made into vessels. Your fear, she whispered, is merely your flesh resisting truth. God fears nothing, Ronnie. Her fingers sank into his eye sockets. There was no pain. That was the worst part. Just pressure. And then, release. The man saw it. Not the room, not the church, not her. He saw behind. He saw El Segurini. A vast, endless expanse of writhing forms, layered upon each other like a living ocean of teeth and limbs and eyes that opened and closed without rhythm. And within it, something aware. Something ancient, something that had been called many names by those who glimpsed it and went mad trying to explain. God, Lucifer, it did not matter. They were him and he was them. It was hungry, a hunger to devour hope and free will. And through the hollowed shells of those in the church, through Ellen, through him, it was beginning to feed. This hunger was an intention. The hunger was parasitic. When Ronnie's wife found his body days later after not coming home for hours, he was still alive, technically. However, Ronnie was never the same as his mind was now open with the eyes of God. They keep whispering the same thing over and over to anyone who comes close enough to hear. Churchgoers and Ellen inside his brain forever. Do you wish to be forgiven? And sometimes, when the light hits just right, they swear they can see something moving behind God's face, pressing outward. Maybe it's hands or a crucifix. It's different every time. The church was filled with secrets. The church of the thrown trees had its grip on mankind. Soon Yavo would too. And then there was the tall seeds. This account sealed in blood and tombs, for no man should have the power of God. Part 4. Dante of the Tall Seeds. It was dark, damp, and what lurked in the corners of the basement was something no child should have ever experienced. Nobody came for Dante and Virginia. Did they even care? It was as if God had abandoned these children, and you might have been right. They waited to see if Mama, Papa, or Sarah would open the door, but it never happened. Days of starvation became weeks and soon months. How would children survive? One light hanging in the middle of the basement as it flickered. Dried blood with maggots crawling the corpses of the children. They were on the verge of starvation as madness crept inside their minds. Despite this, the two children found solace in Mr. and Mrs. Hudson. They spoke of the demon Yavo, how he tricked weak-willed folk, how he crafted a plan to use the church of the thorn trees, how Ronnie was under the thumb of that fallen angel now turned demon. Yavo was of the rank that held the titles the Dukes of Hell, surely nothing that Christians would ever speak about. Like angels, the fallen ones, the demons had a rank system as well. The evil Duke of Hell sought to remove free will from mankind. Mrs. Hudson massaged our weary bodies as a mother. She gave us baths in the basement sink and soothed our weary minds the best she could. It got to a point where we did not even know if this was just a dream or reality. Mr. Hudson taught us of the world we had been blinded from. He spoke of the Tall Seeds, a cosmic organization made up of draconians, greys, and humans, which were a mix of humanoid aliens and humans, which had been created long ago during the times of old. The first mingling of species occurred during the times of the Ice Age. The world has always been a vast concept from the times of old. 4 races of aliens existed in peace during the olden days of Adam, Enoch, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. However, it wasn't as the Bible depicts it. There were draconian, which were lizard-like humanoid aliens with the powers of telepathy, illusion, and mind control. They lived to be 1,000 years old. They were intelligent, but quick to anger and rage. Then there were the Greys. The Greys were responsible for humanity's downfall into chaos and walked with the gods. Mr. Hudson's burned mouth did not move when he spoke their name, Greys. Yet the syllable crawled through the air like a cold insect, finding the soft places in our minds. Virginia and I felt the hairs on our bodies stand straight up. Virginia swore she could hear it twice, once with her ears and once somewhere behind her eyes. They were 7 feet tall, he said, and in the faint basement light, I could almost see the shape of them in the corners where the dark pooled thickest. Humanoid silhouettes, too long in the arms and too narrow in the waist, like mannequins carved by a hand that hated symmetry. Everything was wrong in nature. Their skin was originally gray, a color not of stone, but of ash after a fire has eaten everything worth saving. As they were made up of something that made no sense to the human mind: nicotine, hydrogen, iron, and gray oxygen benochlorine, an element only found in humans who have just died or who are exposed to high levels of radiation. They had no ears, no ridges, no hollows, just smooth sides of skull where sound should have mattered. Their faces were dominated by wide bug-like eyes, black, wet, and convex, reflecting the world as if it were something to be measured rather than lived. Mr. Hudson said those eyes could make out the twitch of a finger from 230 feet away, and that the dark did not close around them the way it did around us. Night vision was not a skill, but a birthright. Shadows were only another kind of information. These creatures, masters of stealth, for you only knew they were there if they wanted you to, Mr. Hudson said, and the room fell deathly quiet. Not even a single creepy crawly moved as if they feared them. Virginia asked how something without ears could hear. Mr. Hudson's blind eyelids creased into something like pity. They don't hear, he answered. They receive. They use technology the way we used skin, always on, always around them, impossible to separate from what they were. He described lenses that floated like dust motes but recorded whole lives, and rooms that folded into boxes the size of a Bible. Once they received, they would never forget. Their ships did not roar or blaze, unlike that of the Magentas or sometimes the Draconians. They arrived with the silence of a thought you didn't mean to think. 600 years, Mr. Hudson told us. That's how long a gray can live if nothing kills it. The number didn't sound like a blessing. It sounded like a sentence. Imagine watching generations rot and repeat over and over and never being allowed to look away. The Greys were the first to interact with the human race. Before kings, before cities, before we learned to lie politely. Or perhaps we humans always were great at lying, making words so smooth that a feeling of loyalty would be born in the hearts of those who did not know that capacity for violence of mankind. Seeming weak, but honestly probably the strongest of the alien races. They did not come as conquerors. Conquerors are loud. They came as observers, and what they observed, they altered. They brought religion, Mr. Hudson said, and Virginia's shoulders shook as if the word had struck her. Not your church hymns, not Ronnie Schneider's sickness, the concept of God, an idea engineered like a tool. He called it a lever for the mind, a way to push the human animal into believing there was something beyond hunger and fear, a way to make us reach upward, not toward heaven, but toward capacity. His name was Meta. He came with his family and friends to a place that would later be called New York. Folks saw them arrive, and fear invaded the folks here. Children began to run to their parents, pointing at the sky. By the heavens, thou hast sinned, and we have been visited by the gods, Nimpton the great chief said. You see, God was a concept they knew, but the Greys advanced that concept, that idea, that principle. For mankind worshipped God. They wielded elements, they had powers, but once the Greys set their sights on something, they would eventually wipe out the entire race. Life on Mars, the Moon, and even galaxy hydropoxy in the Poxakai galaxy, which was 36 light-years away from planet Earth. How could these humans see their ship? They had a cloaking device. This intrigued Meta. They eventually landed, and it was here that mankind would change forever. But it would not be the last change for the human race. The skies parted, and the sound of strange metal birds could be heard. Strange multicolored ambient lights could be seen. It was breathtaking for sure. Children danced with excitement. Women guarded their little ones, for they knew not what was going on. Men drew weapons on defense, for they believed demons came to their homes. A strange language was spoken to humanity. Gimota von Dunkimon, mankind suit no. Meta said as his mothership opened, the gates dropped and approached Nimpton. All looked confused. What are you saying? Are you a threat? He said as swords and weapons were drawn by the humans. Meta, suit demon peace, Meta said in a peaceful voice. Suddenly, loud ringing could be heard, and Meta spoke again. It seems you do not speak the language of the Greys. My apologies, my friend. We come in peace and are observers. Please let us make peace as we both can live in peace together. Meta, the seeming leader of the Greys, said to Nimton. Nimton realized they had technology that he wished to have for himself. Thus, he told his people to stand down and thus befriended the Greys. The two species lived together in peace for 19 years, 11 months, and 29 days. It was the day before the 20th anniversary that Nimton did the worst thing, and since that day, no alien race would trust a single human. They both taught each other advances. With the Greys, they taught of mind control, religion to commune with God, spiritual meditation to gain what we know as magic, and of computers along with science. In return, the humans taught the Greys how to manipulate the elements and telekinesis. Humans taught the Greys of God matter, which elevated the brain, gave one ability of creation magic, which at this time all humans had innately, and that over the course of the decades was taken away. The Greys stole this ability from humans, and the humans stole their Greys' ability to advance in technology. However, at this point in time together, they advanced each other, interbred with each other, and got along very well, until the day the moon became red. The great chief Nimton was the pinnacle of human manipulation. He walked to Meta and his family with that same loving smile. Nimton had 23 children with AI, the first wife and sister of Meta. Through this bloodline, Caribbean and the Latin bloodline was birthed. However, happiness would be short-lived. AI was 6 feet 3 inches tall, around the same height as humans at this time in this region. "Greetings, my love. I have been waiting for you. You missed our daily walk through the cosmic mastic beach," she said to the chief. The man just apologized with a smile, but she felt something was off. Maybe he was in distress. You see, the Greys could feel emotions of any race to see their true intentions, but it was here that they would come to know that humans had the ability to mask their emotions. He told her it was okay. The air was thick as it rained blood that night. His 3 bodyguards ignited their blades with the elements and slaughtered the men of the Greys. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" Meta said as he was surprised. However, Nimton rushed towards him and pinned him down using telekinesis. He drove his blade into the skull of that bastard. He smiled and said that he always wanted to see the insides of an alien. "You are beneath me, foul pagan. I will feast upon your offspring. I will use what you have taught us and advance our race. Become ash and dust, Meta, you filthy heathen," the chief said before ending his life. Before death, Meta reached out to AI, both crying. "We have been tricked, my love. I am so very sorry. But before I die, engage Order Hemojinx 3. He met his death 1,006 years after Adam was born, and soon humanity would be at the top of the food chain. Or so they thought. A loud ringing came as blood came pouring out of mankind's ears. Painful migraines ensued, and soon they would lose their ability to cast creation magic. When they reached 100 years old, they would die of old age. They started forgetting things when they reached 50. It was a curse. It was bloody, for the humans killed everyone except 2 Greys. AI and the firstborn child Gips, who would birth many renowned children. It was from this Grey and human DNA bonding that gave birth to Elon Musk. Humans' capacity for violence was unmatched. As the 4th alien species, they would stand second only to the Magentas, who were a mix of human, Grey, and draconian DNA. Artificial life, but not birthed from planet Earth, but was born on a gas planet known as Saturn. Years of hatred towards their own forefathers who were humans made them want a different life. Thus, in the Sanctorum of Shadilomosis, an organization was established to stop humans if the time arose, for they heard of a man who was in the shadows, controlling humans like a puppet. His name was Yavo. But when did it start? It started with Nimton, when Yavo appeared to him in a dream as an angel and promised him riches and powers if he slaughtered the Greys. And when he did so, he slaughtered Nimton and laughed. Gips and AI would be experimented on until the year 55 BC, when the civilization of Hematarsis ended. Ancient advanced technology never discovered again until the Vatican rose to power, and later the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The Magentas had a new mission, for they caught wind of Yavo and his plans when they ventured to Earth and stumbled on these journals, relics, and trinkets of the past. They looked human, but were not. They organized and became the Tall Seeds. Mr. Hudson said the Greys understood a cruel truth. Humans change fastest when they are terrified of meaninglessness. So they seeded us with meaning. Prayer became rehearsal. Ritual became repetition. Faith became a shape the mind could hold long enough to stretch. And stretched minds did impossible things. In certain bloodlines, rare at first, then quietly cultivated, hands could lift what hands could not touch. A child could bend a spoon without touching it and call it a miracle. Another could pull heat from a stone or chill water with a glance and swear it was God answering. Telekinesis, elemental manipulation, expanded mental capacity. Gifts, yes, but gifts that never arrived alone. Every awakened ability brought a second shadow. Migraines like nails, dreams filled with equations carved into flesh, and a sensation, always at the edge of thought, that something far away was watching to see if the experiment took. But they were not priests. They were not saviors. They were scientists with holy language on their tongues. Mr. Hudson called it splicing, a word too small for what it meant. The Greys partook in racial and specimen DNA weaving the way a seamstress turns scraps into clothing. Not for beauty, never for beauty, but for function. They collected traits the way hunters collected trophies: vision, endurance, pliability of thought, obedience to suggestion. They could take a species apart and put it back together wrong, then watch it walk anyway. They did it to themselves, Mr. Hudson said, voice thinning. You probably are saying to yourself, the Greys were so peaceful. No, behind the backs of Nimton, Meta had been experimenting on humans. Some vanished, some died, and some became Greys. Both sides full of damn sinful practices. That's why their skin was gray to begin with. That's why their faces look unfinished. They traded away parts of themselves for the ability to keep trading. Virginia whispered that it sounded like they had no souls. Mr. Hudson paused so long I thought he was gone. Then he said, they have something else. He told us a story, one he swore was true, about a woman in the old days who met a Grey and mistook its attention for love. It followed her the way moonlight follows a river, silently, always present, never warm. It never touched her skin, yet she began to feel fingerprints in her thoughts, gentle pressure guiding her memories into new shapes. She wrote poems she didn't remember learning. She dreamed in star maps. She felt chosen. And in that terrible romance, so quiet, so intimate she could not prove it to anyone, she began to prefer the Greys' presence to the presence of human beings, because humans demanded things you could refuse. The Grey only asked for what refusal could not protect: access. To access the secrets mankind was hiding, or to access their DNA as a whole. As Mr. Hudson spoke, the single bulb above us dimmed, not flickering like failing electricity, but dimming like an eye deciding it didn't want to see. The basement's shadows lengthened and became too straight, too deliberate. Virginia clutched my arm and hissed that she could see reflections in the dirty basement mirror again. Tall shapes, standing where no one stood. I looked, and for a moment, the glass showed a corridor that wasn't in the house. A long white room with tables like altars, instruments like silver insects, and something strapped down that looked disturbingly like a child, until the eyes opened and I realized it was looking back at me from far away. From 230 feet, through a distance that shouldn't exist. The child looked at me, and it was then I realized something. It was me. A thought pressed into my skull, soft as prayer and sharp as a scalpel. We have been watching the tall seeds. Now we will watch you. Then we snapped back into reality. Mr. Hudson told us the Greys and humans were just one piece of the puzzle, that I was a magenta, the same as them. They just had evolved past their human DNA into something else. I was Dante of the Tall Seeds. Chapter 5, The Final Rite. Part 1, The Door Painted Red. A man comes up to a house, but why does it feel strange? Something felt fundamentally wrong as uneasiness filled the air. A cacophony of madness suffocated the air.
Hey, you here to see them badass cheering again? Oh boy, God has abandoned that fucking house of insanity. I seen them bad eggs watching us from the window. Shit, got nothing to do with me,
a stranger said to the man. Folks here did not trust the house at the end of the road, a place hidden within Henrico, Richmond, Virginia. This street had its secrets, like how folks here practiced witchcraft and voodoo. Children were said to vanish at night, and nobody knew why. Registered sex offenders, murderers who served their time, and even rapists lived here. No doubt some of them wanted to be better, but an eerie feeling swept across this neighborhood. Just walking down this street could send one into mania. I will find out what the fuck that devil-worshipping man is doing to the children and our town. Goddamn Ronnie Schneider. Why he always got the children in the house? Never seen them play outside unless it's in the garden, and they never play, do they? Always that girl of his, Sarah, acting like a saint. But let me tell you now, sir, that she is the devil's offspring. Done seen her touch a few boys in their private parts, you know. Seen she put some strange in their drinks and dragged them into the garden shed. No proof, though, for me and my friends reported them to the police, and guess what the hell happened? Not a damn thing. But the strangest thing happened. My friend's children went missing. Not a peep, not even a murmur. I wondered what happened, but when we confronted Ronnie, the man just smiled and went about how God is saving the children now. Something ain't right. Best stay clear from that wicked home, the strange neighbor said to the man. The man just nodded and smiled. He thanked her and walked to the door. Knock, knock. Who could be here? Rena Schneider pondered.
Well, hi, you. I am glad you could make it, Dr. Wang. Please come in. Would you like anything to eat? Or maybe something to drink? I have tea, water, or soda.
Rena asked the doctor. The doctor smiled and accepted some tea. But why was everything so strange? No children greeted him like they usually did, but he could see a few peering around the corner.
Hey, Benjamin, Courtney, Ryan, and Ethan. I see you over there. How have you been feeling?
The man asked. They stayed behind the corner.
Chirin, stop being rude to the doctor. He is here to check up on you guys. What does Mama always say?
Rena asked the Chirin, but got nothing but the silence in the air.
Did I fucking stutter, you gremlins? What did Mama fucking tell you, huh? You must think it's okay to be rude. I will light that ass up. For God loved the Chirin. He gave all for their purity. He wandered in the valley of death with his son, King David, and thus the darkness came. It swallowed the children, but God promised those little lambs salvation if they spoke and lived the word of the holy light. The light that cannot be snuffed out unless wickedness is in their hearts. Disobedience to the light is in their very steps. Sin has corrupted their minds. Be free from Satan. The Book of Enoch, chapter 17:22.
As she said this, the children straightened up and said hello to the doctor.
It is all right, Mrs. Schneider. I am just happy to be able to help out your family. You do have a lovely home. It is always clean and feels like a welcoming space.
Dr. Wang said to Rena. She smiled, but the truth was Dr. Wang had been hired by a few neighbors who went to the police station and filled out a report. Photos from detectives and the neighborhood watched that Ronnie Schneider had built a hidden basement over the years when a contractor worker was seen fleeing bloody from the house. His fingernails blistered and torn. A huge gash opened on his forehead, and the lad was just terrified. He spoke of hearing the children's screams in the basement. He said that Sarah molested children and that Rena, something was seriously wrong with her. The boy was only 15. The city did not bat an eyelash because crazy people came and went. However, when his body was seen 2 weeks later in the swamp, police had no other choice but to open a case on Ronnie. So for the last year, they were just gathering proof that the Schneider household for orphans were up to something sketchy. Dr. Wang peered through the kitchen and smelled something strange. It was blood. He saw the refrigerator chained and locked as if the children had to ask permission to eat. Anyone who ate without permission would be punished. Then he glanced down the hallway and saw a red door. He felt like it was strange, but he acted like everything was okay. Rena got close to the doctor, her breast exposed in her plain white t-shirt and short jean shorts. He could see a tattoo on her breast. He had never seen something like this before. It was praying hands inside a coffin engulfed in the sun. How did he not notice this before? As time passed, he got a chance to speak to the children. However, the air began to haunt his mind, for in the corner of his eyes, he saw a tall, grayish-looking figure with bug eyes glaring at him. He looked again, and it was gone. He did a double take, and another figure was there, tall and scale-like, almost resembling a lizard that walked like a man. It had a tail, a top hat, or maybe fedora, and a fancy suit. It glared at him with its lizard-like yellow eyes, but soon disappeared. What was going on? Dr. Wang had a plan that if he found anything wrong with the children, he would report it to the nearest hospital. He felt calm because if he did not report back every 2 hours, the police would definitely come to his rescue. Thus, he began to speak to the children and do their monthly checkups.
Hi, Courtney. How have you and your siblings been doing? I heard you have been doing very well with your chores. I am so proud of you.
Dr. Wang said to the girl called Courtney. She just smiled and nodded.
By the way, where is Dante and Virginia? I haven't seen them lately.
He asked the girl. Suddenly, Ethan looked at Courtney and shook his head, as if telling her not to speak about that. Rena had stepped out of the house, but it was evident that the girl was terrified.
It's okay, Courtney. If you can't tell me, just whisper it in my ear.
She froze. Sweat dripped off her face and she remained silent. Well, could you get him in Virginia for me? Dr. Wang asked. But when he said that, she started acting crazed. I will obey all the rules in this house, for Papa is the king and Mama is the queen. I will obey all the rules. I will obey. I am not a bad child. Please, I love this house, she said with immense fear in her voice. The doctor comforted the girl, but he knew about the fear in children due to abuse when he saw it. He whispered to the girl to just show him where the two were, so she took him to that same red door. The door was bolted shut, with wooden blanks and metal bars. However, he did hear a strange voice on the other side of the door.
From the ashes of the sanctorum I rose, from the black pits of wickedness I became. Child of Enoch, know that wickedness follows the house of Schneider. You must find the key in the room of the parents. Become free. Let me in, Dr. Wang. Let me in, Brendan John Wang. Dante is down here with us. Virginia is here with us. We have been trapped for some time, maybe a year now, and I fear that we do not have much time left. Do not let the Church of the Thorned Trees free.
A voice of an older man said to Dr. Wang, What is a sanctorum? What are the children of Enoch? Who or what is the Church of the Thorned Trees? He had so many questions. He squatted down to Courtney.
Hey, Courtney, where is your mother? I need to get into her room, but we have to be quiet about it. Will you help the doctor out?
He asked, but suddenly his vision blurred. What the hell was going on? A migraine ensued, and then, whack! An intense pain invaded his head. The man felt the back of his head, and he felt something wet. It was blood. He turned around, only to get hit in the face with a bat.
You have tried stealing from the house that did nothing but welcome you in with love and care. You trample on Saint Schneider, his holy works. Whatever wicked thoughts you are thinking of ends here, you fucking sinner. Good night, Doctor.
a woman said as he was knocked out. She opened the red door and threw his seemingly lifeless body down the stairs. However, when she tried to close the door, a shadow lunged at her with a broken metal pipe. It bit into her neck, then smacked the metal pipe against her legs until her knees buckled backwards. "Ah! Sister Sarah, what is happening? I am sorry!" Courtney screamed. Then a large tail came from below and dragged the door down with it. Its depths was foggy. What was lurking down the basement? Only fear and madness. Part 2. A girl called Courtney. He came as a friend to tell me I wasn't alone, but some things people were never meant to witness. A thick molasses darkness filled the stairs to the basement. Only memories of violence and hatred filled that boy's heart. He remembered what Ronnie did to him. A man who thought himself to be God himself. He threw the boy down the stairs and screamed at him. "You have disobeyed the rules of this house, Jitterbug! Now God must punish you for your sins, boy! When I find you, I will gift you with my gifts, you little shit. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and wickedness of those who by their wickedness suppress the truth." Romans 1:18. For your ungodliness, you have been chosen, Dante, to feel the wrath and love of God Almighty, Ronnie said to me. As I tumbled down the stairs, the wood from the steps pierced my skin. I hit my head on the steps and soon the concrete floors of the basement. My head split open as blood gushed towards the ground in puddles. I tried crawling away, but like a wild man, Ronnie rushed me. He kicked me in the head with his boots till blood oozed out of me. I screamed for Mama, but he laughed. He took a baseball bat and whacked me in the legs. I screamed for God, but Papa laughed at me, for he was God. Tried crawling again, but he grabbed me, ripped off my clothes as he took off his clothes and made me suck his penis and laughed at me like this was amusement for him. Papa Schneider was an evil man. He tossed me in the tank full of water and forced my head in until I almost died of drowning. Feel the love of God, Dante. Feel his majestic power. Don't piss God off. Bleed for Daddy and your sins will be cleansed. Bleed for the Lord, you heathen pig, Ronnie screamed. Then his wife came down the stairs. At first, I felt that God had answered my prayers, but when I saw that it was Rena, my heart sank. She kicked me just as Papa did. She took a shit on me, now her feces on my tiny body. They burned my skin with lit cigarettes. Then finally, Sarah molested me. They took turns forcing me to fuck them in the butt. They made me suck on their genitals. They said they were of holy blood and God was them and they were him. They laughed, but what could I do? Nothing. Jesus had abandoned me. It was here hatred festered in my belly, and soon something darker would emerge. Sarah fell down the stairs as I had many times ago, her legs broken from the fall and assault. She cried in pain, but God would not come to save her. A boy who was tired of being beaten and broken came and stabbed her with a broken shard of glass. Die! Die! Won't you fucking die? You are no saint. Saint Schneider is just a man. I know of the church of wickedness. Ellen White was no prophet. Yavo had corrupted her. May you know death as your soul becomes ash, Sarah. I am of the tall seeds, and you will know the power of Dante Alvarez. I screamed at her as she begged for me to stop. However, I would gift her the same mercy she gave me. Suddenly, Virginia came out of the darkness and started swinging a metal pipe. Thrash! Her face caved in. She bashed and hit until teeth came falling out, till her eyes were red, till she stopped moving. Then it came out of the darkness, an older man who had been kind to me. He wore a suit, had burned marks about his face, a walking cane. Soon his mouth opened in impossible ways as he devoured Sarah. He had sharp rows of teeth as he bit into her mortal flesh. Where is your God now? Where is he, fucking silly girl? Oh, Ronnie can't save you, can he? For he is no God but a man so easily swayed by Yavo, he yelled at Sarah. The skin in her neck ripped open, her bones exposed as you could see that arrogant expression leave Sarah's face. I am Mr. Hudson. I am Derek Moradian Hudson, the man of the red seed. I have come from planets you have never witnessed, mortal child. I have seen Enoch and visited Elsa Guarini. I seek the freedom of free will. Yavo seeks to take away that gift. From the Idona Parrot Ohama, he saw the capacity of humans as they fell to sin, and even so, they still overcame judgment. He loathed mankind, for he could never ascend into the holiness. He was forever condemned to be a fallen angel, a demon. So with the other dukes of hell and Lucifer, he sought power of mankind. I am of the tall seeds. I am of the red oak. I am the man of the red seed. Mr. Hudson laughed as he spoke to Sarah, as blood filled her lungs and she choked to death on her own blood. From the shadows she came, and with every step webs were crafted on the ground. Her mouth opened to unreal as she ate the rest of Sarah's body. If I weren't brainwashed, I would have realized the terror that Ronnie might have locked away these children, but those who got in the Hudson's way were eaten. The bones of children here were a result of failing Mr. Hudson. This part of the story would be told through the testimony and eyewitness accounts of Courtney Cadaver, my foster care sister. A story one would pray never happened.
The door did not merely disappear. It was removed. Not by the hands of a cosmic creator, or what folks around here would call God, but by a waging war that had been in the works for longer than I had been alive. That is what I must say first, because the word vanish implies speed, escape, a magic trick performed for the sake of surprise. This was not that. The door withdrew violently. It was tossed as if it were a mere rag doll of sorts. It receded down the staircase in the same deliberate way a throat closes around a swallowed thing, muscle by muscle, until nothing remains but the memory of having been obstructed. One moment it stood at the foot of the stairs, red paint thick as drying blood, hinges bolted with the stubbornness of a warning that had been ignored too often. I remember thinking it was obscene how intact it looked, how confident. There are doors that beg to be opened, doors that threaten you if you try, doors that should remain closed, for if they are opened, the devil awaits for you to step through. And God, oh my God, when folks stepped through the devil's gates, they can never return to the state they once used to be. A door that at first glance held no significance. This one simply existed, as if daring the house to explain itself. Then the house obliged. I blinked. I swear to you, I blinked. And the angle of the ceiling shifted by less than a degree, just enough. The red door slid out of view. No doubt it was broken as it vanished through the dense fog. It began vanishing behind the geometry of the basement. The staircase lengthened inward. The walls leaned. The house grew a mouth. Was it fear? Was it demonstrated darkness? Was it something more sinister? I did not yet know. "Did you see that?" I asked, although I was already alone. Well, not completely, for my siblings were behind me. I knew they were as scared as I was, and who wouldn't be? The top of the stairs opened onto a dark that could not be blamed on missing light. It was not shadow. It was accumulation. A dark that had been practiced, rehearsed, as if it knew it would someday be required. A sweet hymn was sung, a sweet lullaby rehearsed, a familiar voice echoed. Where had I heard that voice before?
Oh, Mother, won't they see that the roses fade away? When the seeds sprout, dear madness is clear.
From nothing, the webs formed into the valley. From that valley the seeds became tall, the seeds became red.
The seeds became us. And we became the oak trees of the webbed mass.
However, they come to take us away from our land, so we slice the children's eyes out. Mamas will be eaten as they cannot bear the truth. Papa's neck is inside a noose. Make it tight and wither, little jitterbug. We are the tall seeds,
the voice said. What was this? I knew not. And it was here fear gripped the soul. Madness took a toll on my mental. The air rising from it pressed against my face with unsettling intimacy, warm and faintly damp, carrying a scent I could not name without lying. Something like copper. Something like old breath held too long. Something like iron. Something akin to blood. I told myself, it's an old house. Houses settle. The dark listened politely. I stepped on something, but what was it? Excerpt from the written account of Eleanor MacDonald, titled, "The Devil Controls the Truth. Ronnie is Killing Children." 2001. Ronnie Schneider is wanted in the connection of 203 missing children. I believe him to be the mastermind. I confronted him about it, and he told me nonsense that only a madman would say. He said he was God, that the angel of God guides him to holiness, as it did the same for Ellen G. White. His nails were rugged and sharp. His pupils were milky, and on his wrist he had a strange tattoo with a brand to match. It was praying hands inside a coffin engulfed in the sun. The case was soon dropped by the church, saying I was trying to tarnish a God-fearing man's reputation. Shortly after that, my boyfriend committed suicide. But I know that the Seventh-day Adventist Church and Ronnie were behind this. That church, I found out recently, goes by the name the Church of the Thorned Trees. They have ties with the Rosicrucian order, who are of the ancient, mystical, and cosmic beliefs. They have ties with the Church of the Golden Sacred Tears. They have control over the Roman Vatican. I just pray I am not too late. I followed that man from Illinois to Virginia. What did he have with Virginia, a Commonwealth state? Only time will tell.
What the actual fuck was this? She had written about Papa. Was there something happening that I did not know about? Yes, there was. My heart would not keep a steady rhythm. Each beat arrived uncertainly, as though waiting for permission. I hovered at the middle steps, fingers brushing the banister. The wood pulsed. Not moved, pulsed, faintly, the way skin does when touched where it is not accustomed to being touched. "Hello?" I called. My voice thinned on the way down, stretched, elongated, until it no longer sounded like something human lungs would produce. It came back to me transformed, a soft parody.
"Come down. Come closer. We see you, child at Enoch."
"No," I said aloud, foolishly, heroically. "You don't." The dark below shifted, as if amused. I felt it then, the attention. A slithering sound could be heard, as if it were a snake, hissing low but steady. Not sight, not hearing, but a pressure applied inward, a sensation like fingers testing the inside of my chest. It was intimate beyond obscenity.
romantic in the worst sense, the certainty of being stalked. I took one step down. The staircase responded with a sound like satisfaction. As I descended, the walls narrowed, but impossibly so, their angles contradicting the space I knew the house contained. The dimensions made my eyes ache. Paint blistered and rearranged itself into patterns suggestive of veins, of constellations I almost recognized from half-remembered dreams. The dark thickened around my legs, clinging, warming, eager. From down through the fog, a light suddenly turned on. It was a TV, but only static could be heard. Audio transcription. Eleanor MacDonald found dead in Richmond. Virginia reports say she was mauled by a bear. She was only 29 years old. The boy who found her dead was Dante Alvarez, the boy who is in the loving care of Ronnie. 'Tis a sad story. I pray for her loved ones as we seek answers. However, one thing is true. Mrs. MacDonald was on a search to find her missing niece. All facts pointed to the niece had been kidnapped by Ronnie and Rena. The niece's name was Courtney. It said as it flashed various colours. Then it spoke my name. Courtney, will you save the children from the demon Yavo? It's speaking. God, it's not words exactly. It knows my name the way muscle knows strain. It keeps saying not to trust Yavo. What or who is Yavo? As madness crept in slowly, I knew it wants my shape, my boundaries. It says I'll fit perfect with the tall seeds. Something brushed my ankle, then my calf. I froze. Don't, I whispered, unsure whether I was commanding myself or pleading with the house. The contact lingered, assessing, then withdrew with unmistakable reluctance, as a lover denied, for now. At the bottom of the stairs, where the red door should have been, there was only an opening rimmed with structures that suggested doors the way fossils suggest bones. Engraved and lodged into the wooden frame were bones, and it smelled rancid, as if something was rotting. It smelled of urine and manure. That stench smelled horrid. And beyond that opening, depth without scale. Space folding into itself. A cosmos reduced to organ and hunger. I understood then what the house had done. Maybe it wasn't that this house was haunted, but a monster lurked in our very own home. It had not grown a throat to keep a secret. No, cowards keep secrets, or those people with something to hide. It did not care. It wanted to feed on hope. It had grown one to tell it slowly, lovingly, to whoever was willing to step inside and be shaped by the telling. And somewhere in that dark, something waited, patient as rot, rehearsing its demonic voice. My brothers and sisters who remained at the top stared in disbelief, mouths open, eyes shining with that obedient emptiness Mama had trained into us like a prayer. They didn't reach for me. They didn't call my name. They watched the way people watch a match burn down to the fingers, transfixed, fascinated, relieved it wasn't their skin. However, I wondered why their voices had long ago been snuffed. But I had to know for sure if Dr. Wang was alive. I needed to know that Dante and Virginia were still alive. The horror of stories of the basement were just as scary in person, if not worse. I should have run. As I reached the bottom, I saw it. A tall creature. It was eating Sarah. Teeth razors as it tore into Sarah's skin. Bone dripped with blood, muscle fibers hanging out of her body. It had talon-like fingernails. Skin was scale-filled like a lizard, and its tail massive. Its face, however, seemed human, like a man with a burnt faces and face morphed, no disfigured. It won't just one, but two. "Mr. Wang, are you okay?" I screamed, but only heard silence. I did not notice the woman standing next to that hellish demon. "Have you come as a follower of Yavo, girlie? We all stand to watch for different reasons. But even No, Dante and Virginia know the tall seeds are here to guide. The greys are here to take. And the Church of the Thorn Seeds is here to destroy. Which side are you on?" Sarah had to die, for she followed him into violence and sin. We are mere guides to free will, not takers of it. So, girl, are you free or chained? A woman's voice said. It was Dara Janet Hudson. Suddenly I saw mirrors and figures at a quick glance. I saw them, the greys watching and waiting. I saw these strange, reptilian-like creatures who called themselves the Tall Seeds. Finally, I heard Boots walking down the stairs behind me. "Oh God, Jesus, please save me." I knew those Boots. He came with vengeance. He came riding on the fire coats of hell itself.
Courtney, step away from that man. Don't you know God will fix this? Don't you know he is of the Magentas, and through deceit he came to drag you into hell?
Ronnie Schneider said. Soon the final battle would commence.
Part 3. St. Ronnie Schneider and the Blood Oak Tree.
I have witnessed the power of God, Jitterbugs, and it was then I knew God feels no pain. She told me of the secret to become God, Courtney. I am he who will last long after the damnation of wicked souls. I have peeked and I have seen. The tall seeds are misguided into rage, into blindness, for the prophet Ellen White showed me the path to enlightenment. Mr. Hudson can do nothing because he devours the minds of children. Mrs. Hudson is a liar, for her true name is the Wayward Lady, or perhaps her real name is that foul mother of the webbed trees. Yavo has guided me, but I am still God.
Ronnie shouted. Mr. Hudson hissed at Papa, and now the air shifted, not in instant tones, but in slow climax. Mr. Hudson lunged at Papa with his sharp claws, but he dodged. He attacked with his tail, but he dodged yet again. Thus, Mrs. Hudson lunged at Ronnie, and a great battle would commence.
From light I restore and resurrect you, my sweet baby girl. Rise as Daddy's mighty warrior. From heaven to the great advisor Yavo, be reborn.
Ronnie shouted, and a bright white light landed on the dead remains of Sarah Schneider. Her bones mended back together. Blood reformed back into her skin as her injuries were restored. She was alive. But how? Suddenly, Rena came and ran into the basement. She jumped, she lunged, she tackled Dara Janet Hudson. She choked until mucus came out. She would not stop. She was enraged at the blasphemy of the Tall Seeds. How dare you? You believe you can beat God? God is my husband. God is almighty, and God has granted me true sight, you filthy cow of purgatory. Rena screamed. However, what would happen next would amaze everyone. It would shift the battle. It would shift the minds of this war. For not all wars are physical.
I grow tired of this shit. I see the power of the Greys and I am not impressed. I have witnessed the corruption of Yavo as he misguides Ronnie into madness, for he is no god, but a false prophet. I have seen the tall seeds, and they fight wars by tricking children as they feed on the mind. I have nothing left for any side. How could a god who claims to be loving molest a child, beat kids, kidnap children, and perform unholy acts? How could the tall seeds corrupt the minds of the pure to get what they truly desire? They want the power of Yavo for themselves. Know this, I am Dante of the Olden Oak. I am he who rules the Olden Ones of the tall seeds. I am he who will rise against this injustice. Be in awe at a true God.
Dante screamed. Everyone felt his words. But suddenly, an oak tree rose from the middle of the basement, and its roots went through the ceiling. Grass stained red grew from the floor. A crown of thorns and bones grew out of the head of Dante. Black wings came out of his back. Crows perched on the tree's branches. Dante knew of magic. Was this an illusion, or something more sinister?
You do not love Ronnie, Rena. Your pitiful marriage was on the rocks from long ago. You have been brainwashed, for even though you act composed, you dwell in the house of whores and demons, cheating and fucking and sucking, sinning and crying. It was then that Papa met the false prophet Ellen G. White and they fucked. Ronnie fucked God. But through vile witchcraft, he was corrupted not by God, but by Yavo, who lurks in the mind of the weak, and like a parasite, he granted Papa the illusion of godhood. In reality, he possesses the body. Saint Ronnie Schneider is just a fucking man. I grow tired of this. When will it fucking end? When will I be loved? When will I be held with love? When is it your turn to suffer?
Dante asked as tears ran down his face. Suddenly Dante's face twisted. Mr. Hudson grew taller and more muscular. He fed on the minds of those he marked. He marked Dante as a tall seed, and would not stop till he got what he came here for. Mr. Hudson behind Dante. He lunged at Mama Renna, but not before picking up the chains used to chain him. He jumped on her back and started choking her.
Virginia, do it now! Kill this bitch! Make her bleed! Bleed for the tall seeds of the wretched path. Make her fear a true God.
The boy screamed. Virginia ran and stabbed Rena over and over with a piece of glass. Maybe it was rage. Maybe it was vengeance. But these two were now monsters. Once sweet souls, but the Schneider home for orphans had snuffed the light out. Soon Mrs. Hudson grew to the same monstrous size behind her husband, and a vile smirk could be seen. She devoured Mama whole as she lifted her and ate her whole. Sounds of bones crushing could be heard. Sounds of grinding body parts could be heard as blood filled her face, poured down her body. And now they all looked at Ronnie. In a panic, Sarah remembered the feeling of dying. She could not do this again. She fled past Ronnie. He yelled at her to come back and fight. She ignored it. He screamed he would revive her mother, but she could not think. What had she done? She always felt she had been doing the right thing, but now she felt wrong. All Dante wanted was love, but they removed it from the equation. They created a monster. She got to the steps, and suddenly Ronnie's body changed. His limbs elongated, his eyes enlarged, arms came out of his body, and his voice changed.
Stop! Sarah, don't you know I did not give you permission to escape your mission? I am Yavo. I will slaughter you where you stand, girl.
if you disobey me again. I always knew you never had what it takes to be an heir of God Almighty. You are weak, and thus I will.
The sentence was never finished, for Dante rose his hands, and now the crows pecked his eyes out.
Fuck Yavo, it was his fault. Fuck this insanity. You trick humans, just as you tricked Enoch. You lie and lie, you fucking liar. But what did I expect from not an angel, but a duke of hell? I banish you, you foul entity, to where you belong. A place I have seen in visions. A place where a stitched man awaits you. You cannot tempt mortals into sin again. We did nothing to you. This is your final right, demon. And know one thing. Dante of the tall seeds will see you dead and banished.
As Dante said this, a beam of light came into his hands. A knife, flaming with green fire, appeared in his hand, and he stabbed the creature. He dug into his neck and decapitated Ronnie. He was enraged, seemed possessed. The children saw this from the staircase, and something overcame them. They picked up pipes and rushed Ronnie's body, all beating that man. It was in 2002 Yavo was banished, for without the pendant of God, he could not remain in the mortal plane. A necklace around Ronnie's neck, crafted by King David himself and made stronger by his son, King Solomon, was destroyed. The children ripped it off his neck and crushed it beneath their feet. The fog lifted. Dante stabbed Ronnie's heart and ripped it out. Before he drew his last breath in this world, he smiled. You cannot kill God, child. Little jitterbug, we will meet again. And know one thing you cannot win. So enjoy your little victory for now, he said before he died. We all looked around, and not only were the Schneiders gone, but the tall seeds were gone too. We all left the basement and rushed outside, down the street, and soon found by a neighbour. In the end, we were all sent to another orphanage. Sarah was caught and locked away because she admitted working with her parents doing inhumane things to the children. Finally, we would be free of the clutches of insanity. Virginia and Dante were our heroes. We all were glad it was over, but eventually we all got adopted to houses. But a seed by Yavo was planted. Maybe it was too traumatic to remember, but Dante would forget about Mr. Hudson, the tall seeds, the Schneiders, and maybe it was for the best until later in life. In his later teenaged years, a name from a teacher in South Carolina would emerge. Ronnie Schneider. Yavo wasn't gone forever, and neither was Ronnie. The work of the Seventh-day Adventist Church was not done. Ambassadors for that same vile organization was the family who adopted him. Jason Miles and Rebecca Miles with their only son, Curtis Miles. The road to the corruption of the Church of the Thorned Trees would continue and would not be stopped. It is currently March 21st, 2026, and as we all are adults now, there is one inescapable fact. Dante was forever changed, and it was here we learned of the darkest corruption, most vile magic, and evilness of mankind. If you are being abused at home, please contact help if possible. You are not alone. And remember, little jitterbug, they are watching us.